This is John King. I'm speaking with Montana Attorney General Tim Fox. I understand that you're out with an opinion today on a case pertinent to the citizens of Missoula. I was hoping you could kind of fill us in on what you found.
Yeah, sure, John. As you know, the Attorney General is charged by statute with the responsibility of issuing Attorney General opinions in certain limited circumstances, and those opinions have the force and effect of law until such time as the legislature might change it. As you know, the Missoula City Council had passed ordinance, I think it's in Chapter 9, with respect to requiring background checks on sales and transfers of firearms within the city limits. And we were, a while back, requested by the Speaker of the House, Austin Knudsen, to issue an Attorney General opinion. We underwent a very thorough and long process where we get comments and input from interested and involved parties, including the City of Missoula, and we issued that opinion today. And generally, in a nutshell, what my opinion was that the ordinance violates state statute pertaining to what powers a city like Missoula may have with regard to the regulation of firearms. And so it's my opinion that the City of Missoula's ordinance can't be enforced.
So so basically the City of Missoula lacks the power in your interpretation to enforce these gun ordinances. Is it something that the state also would lack the power for? Or if a piece of legislation similar to the one made in Missoula were made by the state, would that be permissible?
Well, we don't issue opinions on the legality of hypotheticals, so
fair enough.
I would tell you that what we do know is that the legislature some time ago not only limited the power of municipalities to regulate firearms, but in this case specifically prevented it. So, these are issues that we don't take lightly, and as I said, we went through a long legal analysis, and sought the input of multiple parties, and ultimately this is a relatively simple case to understand when you look at the state statute pertaining to what a municipality can do or cannot do with respect to the regulation of firearms.
Gotcha. So basically, so I understand, state law prohibits the enforcement of Missoula's gun ordinance because the City of Missoula does not have the power to enforce it. Would that be a fair summary? That
would be a fair summary in a nutshell.
All right.
And unfortunately, it took us a little bit longer than that to write the opinion.
Yeah, what has it been, 2 or 3 months now, right?
Well, I'm talking about space. Your summary.
Oh, okay.
It took us about 10 pages to state what you said, but that's just the nature of the beast, because we need to have a very thorough and thoughtful analysis, which we've done, and cite to not only the state statutes, but the cases, and in fact in the legislative history. When you look at the history of the statute involved that prohibits municipalities from acting in this way, it's pretty clear what was intended to do. And what the City of Missoula did was try to point to what they thought was an exception, and if we were allowing those kinds of exceptions, which in this case they had interpreted it incorrectly, to do that, it would essentially swallow the very statute that prohibits them from doing it. So, we worked very hard on this, and we think it's important that this get out during the legislature, because I know the legislature had indicated that they may do something in response to this, but and I don't know that whether or not they'll do anything at this point, but we certainly wanted to get it out in a timely way.
Was the quibble over the nature of a self-governing city or entity versus a municipality?
Well, I think the main difference in our interpretation and that of the cities was whether or not this exception contained in a statute was being read correctly, and in fact it was not. And as I said, it was the city's interpretation of that provision in statute, which they cited as an exception that might allow them to do what they wanted to do, was not only strained, but eventually would, if that kind of interpretation were allowed, it would swallow up the very statute that prohibits municipalities from acting in this way in the first place.
All right. Well, Attorney General Tim Fox, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, John, and thanks to your listeners.